Hello, I am Gabriel Luna and I'm going to discuss SOHCAHTOA and Sine law. Let me first get my laser pointer. Yeah. We'll start our discussion by defining what is SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is a mnemonic for the trigonometric functions sine, cosine, and tangent. It is used in solving right triangles only. Remember, right triangles only. In reference as to why it is called SOHCAHTOA is because SOH is sine theta is equal to opposite divided by the hypotenuse. CAH is cosine theta is equal to adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. And TOA, which is tangent theta, is equal to opposite divided by the adjacent. Always keep in mind that the symbol theta represents the given angle, the hypotenuse as the longest side of the triangle, and not all instances is this side is the opposite and this side is the adjacent. Now, how can we determine which side is the adjacent and which side is the opposite? We'll now look where the theta is located. In this figure, theta is located here. We can determine which one is the adjacent side by looking at the form of the angle. The adjacent side contains the segment of the given angle, and the opposite side does not contain any parts of the given angle. Sa Tagalog, titignan mo muna kung saan makikita si theta. Kasi hindi lahat ng pagkakataon, ang side na ito ay ang opposite at ang side naman na ito ay adjacent. Ang adjacent ay yung kapantay o kalinya ng mismong angle at yung opposite ay yung katapat ni theta o ng angle. With all that in mind, we'll now solve for problems using SOHCAHTOA. Solve for x. We first determine which part of the triangle is x. And referring to this figure, x is the hypotenuse because it is the longest side. Theta is located here, meaning 13 is the opposite leg, and this one is the adjacent side. Now, which one in the SOHCAHTOA are we going to use in solving for the hypotenuse, considering that the opposite side is given and the theta is also given? We use SO, or sine theta is equal to opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Now, we derive a formula to solve for the hypotenuse. We now treat sine theta as sine theta divided by 1 and we do cross multiplication. We'll cancel sine theta for the hypotenuse to be retained, and we're left with hypotenuse is equal to opposite divided by sine theta. We now solve. We substitute the values. X is equals to 13 divided by sine 50. And the answer is 16.97 units when rounded off into 2 decimal values. Now that we have the value of x, and we also have the value of the opposite side, and also the given angle, we can also solve for the adjacent side. Now, think, which one in the SOHCAHTOA are we going to use in solving for the adjacent? We can use CAH. Cosine theta is equal to the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. Now we derive once again a formula to solve for the adjacent side. Treat cosine theta as cosine theta over 1 and do cross multiplication. We now have the formula to solve for the adjacent. We now substitute. We can name the adjacent side first as y. Y is equals to cosine 50 multiplied by 16.97. And the answer will be 10.91 units when rounded off into 2 decimal places. Now you might be asking, why are we using units? The reason is because in the given, no unit of measurement is specified. Now in instances where there is no unit of measurement specified, we do not assume any unit of measurement, may it be centimeter, meter, or feet. Instead, we'll be using units. We now move on to the second example. A building in Pasig City that is 250 feet tall casts a shadow 186 feet along the level ground. Find the angle in which the shadow meets the ground. To visualize the problem, we have this figure. 250 as the opposite because theta is located here, and 186 feet as the adjacent. Which one in the SOHCAHTOA are we going to use in solving for theta, given that the adjacent and the opposite side are stated in the problem? We use tan, or TOA rather. We will not derive any formulas because we're looking for the theta itself. We now substitute. Tan theta is equal to 250 divided by 186, and we have the answer of 1.344086022. The question is this number the final answer? The answer is no. It is a common misconception among students that this is the final answer for this problem, which is not. What we're going to do is to multiply it, or rather is to use the arctangent. How are we going to use arctangent? We multiply arctangent on both sides. By the way, arctangent can be written as ARCTAN or simply tan raised to -1. Why do we multiply it on both sides? Because by multiplying it on both sides, we can cancel out tangent here in this side, and we can have arctangent in this side along with the value of tan theta, because we're getting the inverse of the function, of the trigonometric function. Theta is equals to arctangent 1.344086022, resulting to 53.35 degrees when rounded off into 2 decimal values. We now move on to sine law. Sine law can be used on all kinds of triangles, including right triangles. It can be used when either of these criteria are met. ASA criteria, when given 2 angles and included side to find the unknown side, and AAS criteria, given 2 angles and a non-included side to find the unknown angle. Once again, ASA, angle, side, angle, and AAS, angle, angle, side. The uppercase letters represent the angle, and the lowercase letters represent the side. Now notice the placement of the variables. Now for the formulas of sine law. When finding the length of a side, we have A over sine A equal B over sine B equals to C over sine C. When solving for an angle, we have sine A over A is equals to sine B over B equals to sine C over C. Notice once again the placement of the letters or the variables. We now solve for problems using sine law. Solve for the missing variables. The missing variables are angle C, side A, and side B. And the given are angle A, which is 45 degrees, angle B, 69 degrees, and side C, which is 8 meters. Now, we know that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180. So by solving C, we have C equals 180 minus A minus B, or simply 180 minus 45 minus 69 equals 66. Now we have the values of angles A, B, and C, and side C. We're now solving for the values of sides A and sides B and side B. Keep this in mind. Now, which one of these are we going to use to solve for the missing sides? A over sine A is equals to C over side C is what we're going to use to solve for side A. We now derive the formula to solve for side A. To cancel out sine A in this side, we multiply sine A on both sides, which will result to A is equals to sine A multiplied by C over sine C. We now substitute. A is equals to sine 45 multiplied by 8 divided by sine 66. And we have A is equals to 6.19 meters when rounded off into 2 decimal places. We now solve for side B. We can use B over side B equals to C over sine C. We multiply once again side B on both sides to cancel out side B on the left side, and for sine B to be multiplied on the right side, which will result to B is equals to sine B multiplied by C divided by sine C. We once again substitute the values. B is equals to sine 69 multiplied by 8 divided by sine 66, which will result to 8.18 meters when rounded off into 2 decimal values. Now, we'll keep this whole value, the original value, in mind. Why? To check if angle C is right. Pag-uusapan natin mamaya. We'll talk about it later. To solve for, we now check for angle C, if C is really equal to 66 degrees. We now use sine C over C equals sine B over B. We multiply first side C on both sides. Side C, not sine C. Multiply side C on both sides, which will result to sine C is equals to side C multiplied by sine B over B. We now substitute the values. Sine C is equals to 8 multiplied by sine 69 divided by 8.17544,803, which will result to 0.9135454,576. Again, yung misconception ay ito na ang final answer. No, it is not the final answer because we'll be using arc sine. Multiply arc sine on both sides to cancel out sine on the left side and for arc sine to be multiplied on the value of sine c. We now have c is equals to arc sine 0.9135454576, which will result to 66 degrees. Meaning, our equation, our solution is correct. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something new today. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Sana may natutunan kayo sa aking pagtuturo.